This episode of The Patch is sponsored by Hulu Plus. Hulu Plus lets you binge on thousands of hit shows anytime, anywhere on your TV, PC, smartphone, or tablet. Support this podcast and get an extended free trial of Hulu Plus when you go to huluplus.com/patch. That's huluplus.com/patch.
Hey! Over there. It's The Patch. We are once again Gus-free. Gus-light.
Gusless.
Gusless. There you go. We have...
rollless.
Does that mean there's only one or two of... There's only one of him here?
I think that means
none
there's
of him
only...
here?
The spirit of Gus is still with us. So there's only one this time. So today we're joined by...
Ashley!
And Burnie.
And Ryan.
And Ryan.
And the spirit of Gus.
And the spirit of Gus. As always, Gus is with us always in
He
spirit.
wafts.
So we're out of control. Look, I didn't even remember to flip over the thingy.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
We'll hear about that
we're
forever.
going downhill. Hurry.
All right, so been a pretty crazy week in video games.
Really
regular week.
interesting weekend. There are a lot of strange legal issues coming up in video games this week.
And games are starting to come out again.
And
so
games
that's
are
exciting.
trickling out a little bit.
Sort of. I think the big releases this week, at least, the ones I see, Thief came out this week, and then Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare.
It did?
Which I know you guys are excited about that in the Achievement Hunter office.
We've been playing a lot of, as much as you can play it right now in our office, which is like 12 frames per second. Not the game's fault, totally our internet connection. It's like, but if it says anything about the game, it's that we are still playing it even under those circumstances. We've been having a lot of fun with it.
Well, you can feel it now that like the releases are starting to come. Like this is coming out. The Titanfall beta just ended, and Titanfall is about to release. We're finally starting to get some next-gen titles coming in, which is good because my PS3 is like just about to die. It's doing everything in its power to fight me
On its last legs.
Yeah, someone told me that if the problem I'm having, which I'll be in the middle of playing the Last of Us DLC, Left Behind, and it'll just, sorry guys, not only did I have a
was
Minecraft zombie went off.
No one would have known but us. But,
yeah, sorry about that. The Minecraft zombie first and then to my phone, but my PS3 just keeps shutting off, like just, it makes a hard click and then it's off. It's just like, no warning, it's just off, and then I have to unplug it, plug it back in. Somebody said it's probably just dust. It happens, and just pull your cover off and do it. But I don't know. I don't want to embarrass myself, Ryan, but I don't have torque screwdrivers. So torque drivers.
It's okay, bro.
Is it okay?
It's all right not to have torque screwdrivers.
Okay. Well,
I can loan you some.
I got to that. Oh, there we go. That was a nice little passive dig. Yeah.
If you recall, that PS3 was actually the one that was in the garage. That's the one that I was using when I was playing Ni no Kuni while I was walking on the treadmill.
She's just adopting my treadmill gaming strategy for exercise.
I did, and with a game like that, I spent, I want to say 300 hours playing. No, that seems way too.
300
No, sorry,
hours.
It was 100 hours, and then I walked 3 miles an hour. So I walked 300 miles while playing Ni no Kuni.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And that, I guess it just at some point, that PS3 was fun when I started, but at some point, maybe because it was summer and it was in a dusty area, it just started. It just, no warning, just completely shuts off, and then it'll turn on again. Like you can turn it on maybe 5 minutes later.
It's kind of a wheeze, cough. All right.
Yeah, so we brought it into the house because we figured, it's doing fine in
It's
there.
like an old cat.
But now
you bring it in for its final years.
And you know what's crazy though is that we're both gamers. Like that's our primary source of entertainment. Ashley's also an enormous reader. She reads constantly, which I don't do. I play threes on my mobile phone.
That's why my eyes keep getting worse.
I play games in different. Oh, come on, are you serious?
I'm serious. I have to wear my glasses to play Lightning Returns now because I can't read the text on the screen.
But we're such different gamers. Like the stuff we play is so separate that a lot of times what I'll play, like she doesn't play anything Last of Us. To get her to enjoy Last of Us, we just watched all the cinematics one day as like our movie night. That's what we did.
Decent way to take in that game, honestly.
It wasn't bad. There were some gaps in it. We talked about it before, but and she played Ni no Kuni, which I saw little bits of. It looked like a lot of fun, but I just would never play it. And damn, this Final Fantasy game she's been playing lately, it's just like I'm like by osmosis. I tried to tell her the story of Final Fantasy.
Tell me what Lightning Returns is about.
Okay, so Lightning Returns. First of all, you don't know what death is because she tells everybody that, or evil has a price. It's such a repetitive battle.
All right.
In the Final Fantasy series.
So deep message. Got it.
Okay, so you play the Savior, who is voiced by Liara from Mass Effect. What is that? That looks like a creeper. Anyway, so you play the Savior, and the world is ending. It's going to end in so many days, and you were appointed by God.
Oh, all right.
And you have a sister, Sarah, who has died, but not really kinda, and she hangs around and bothers you. And then I don't know what else. That's other stuff. And then you fight stuff. And then you talk to other people that are doing other things while you're trying to save the world that's going to die in 7 days.
So is this like a modern version of the telephone game? It's they watch this from the outside and then tell me what it's about?
Here's the thing about this is he's not that far off.
Really?
You are the savior that's been, woken from a 500-year sleep.
All right.
By
Real
God.
man savior.
What did we need saving from 500 years ago, Ryan? What was that?
Syphilis, maybe?
Black plague.
And so you play Lightning. She's the title character. She was in Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2. So this is the conclusion of the trilogy, even though all three of them are pretty disconnected from one another story-wise. They literally each take place like 500 years later or something.
That's probably still the strongest link between any Final Fantasy games that's ever been. If it's
No,
any.
there was Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh,
And
that's true.
that one picks up a year after 10 ends.
Right.
And that's the one that's about to get the HD remaster.
That's when clothes took over the Earth, right?
Clothes?
It's a joke because 10-2 was like all about dress up.
Oh my God. It was so about dress up. And that's what 13 is. 13 is about. That's actually
It's
one
part
of the reasons.
combat system is what you're wearing.
So in 10-2, it was the dress sphere system. And this one, it's like a garb system where you have like a base outfit and that determines your class.
So combat stripping comes into this.
Yes. No.
Gear's
Wait.
important.
You had me. You
We
lost
wish.
the hook.
We wish. No, but so the outfit determines basically like what class you are and a bunch of different attributes, and then you have a weapon and a shield that further tweak those attributes, and then you can equip Pokemon style 4 abilities, like 4 different abilities, and some of the garbs will have like one locked ability. As an example, so I started playing, and in this town that you start in, Luxarian, this giant dragon pops up, and you are.
I hate when that happens.
Straight to giant dragons.
Straight to giant dragon.
Where do you go from there?
Yeah, really.
And
other games, that's the last thing.
Someone's like, "Yeah, can you take care of this dragon?" That's so cool.
We got bad dragons, man.
And
you got a cream or a salve?
They put up wanted posters. Wanted. Arrow up. That thing. That's killing all of us. Get it.
Yeah, that. The entire game is pretty much like mini side quests, by the way. Like it's all like, can you kill that giant dragon for us? Thanks. Or I'd really like 3 pieces of ragged leather so that I can fix my doll. Could you get that for me?
But we play totally different games, but we play them in similar ways. Like she's one of those people that she'll get to a part of the game and there's like a layer of side quests essentially, and she just does all of them. And that's exactly what I do. It's
All of that.
yeah, that's the way I was when I played GTA, which I know we have something to talk about today about GTA. But in GTA, I would get to a point and the main story missions were the last thing that I did in GTA.
I mean, that's like the classic RPG formula, though, right? You only do a story mission, you only advance once you're out of other things that you can possibly be doing.
For the ultimate completionist kind of mindset. And unfortunately, a lot of times that leaves you so overpowered that the main story is like, oh, yeah, that's...
I've run that quite a bit. You get to the last boss and you're just like, oh, what was this supposed to be?
That's got to be a hard balance to keep. I mean, if you want to include all these side missions and then at the same time maintain a story that's difficult or has some kind of challenge. Some games actually do ramp up the difficulty as you go on, but I don't know that I've ever seen it done very well.
I'm most curious about how Destiny is going to handle that, where they have the world and they have players all across the world from what I've seen of it, and they can have an instance where multiple levels of characters are fighting something big in the one of these world instances or whatever they call it. I'd be curious to see how that works out.
Well, I mean, honestly, they had something like that sort of mechanic, well, at least as you just described it, in Defiance. Did you play any of that?
I did not.
You didn't miss a lot. I mean, it was an MMO based on the sci-fi show, and there was sci-fi show tie-ins.
Oh, that was that show. I remember when they were doing that. I thought that was really progressive. Not progressive enough for me to try it, but I thought that was interesting.
It was all right. And you would, though, on occasion, you would come across a giant thing in the world that a whole bunch of people were all fighting together, and you could participate in this giant battle, which sounds very much like how they are describing it in Destiny. We'll see. Maybe it'll be slightly different, but
E3 should be amazing for Destiny this year.
Yeah.
Hands-on.
Wouldn't you also classify the giant boss fights as like, I don't know, an MMO raid?
sort of.
Aren't those, the whole Leroy Jenkins thing was to take on like some gigantic thing that you need an enormous amount of people to do. You can break off in your little groups and go do other stuff, but if you want to raid, you need to get a whole bunch of people together. It
to do
seems
the
like
Leroy
that.
Jenkins thing, you could actually do that at any level you wanted to. Just run in and fuck up.
No. I just mean like
But everyone tends to be level 60.
I don't play MMOs, so that's most of like my
You don't play
knowledge
MMOs
comes
anymore.
from anymore. No, I swore them off.
kicked the habit.
I swore them off after my 5th one. I know what they do to me, and so I just can't. I won't even start. I won't look at them.
In fact, there was Adam sent out that we had beta codes for Elder Scroll
Yeah.
Online, and it was like that is like I'm sitting there looking at the email like this. Yeah, I do want to do it, but can I do it? I'm like literally thinking about my calendar. When somebody sends out a beta code and you open your calendar, that's either a really good sign or a really bad sign. I'm not sure what.
Do I have a week to lose here? A week or two. Well, the interesting thing actually, though, with Defiance and what I'm assuming is going to be like in Destiny is those big boss fights weren't just at the bottom of a dungeon. This would just randomly happen in the world. You'd be just walking down a normal area and all of a sudden a giant thing would be right there. So
and Destiny shows that like they have what looked like almost like cinematic events, in-game cinematic events, where something big happens. They did it in one of the demos, and like everybody goes and fights in that world instance. And in the instances in World of Warcraft, I never got to be a big raider. That was never my thing. In fact, I played World of Warcraft on and off, and I don't think I ever had a character that was over level 70, and I never hit the level cap for whatever it was at the time. I was always way behind that. Gus was huge raider, and so was Adam Baird, who works here. But every dungeon or instance that I went into, they have stones that tell you what level you're supposed to be to do that.
Well, now you just pay $60 for it,
that's right. That's actually some of the latest news. On the back. I don't know where I was going with that sentence. Anyway, so World of Warcraft, with the new expansion, they're offering power leveling up to the max level.
Right.
Well, now someone just saw briefly appear in the store the option to power level another character. Like you could just buy it, and instead of just buying the expansion, you could just power level that character.
You just buy a full
Now,
level
explain to me
character.
what power leveling is, as though I was somebody who didn't know, which I clearly do.
It would be as if you just didn't bother to play any of it.
This is just a
and
test
became
to make sure that you
Superman.
know.
So you're just buying levels.
Yeah, you're just jumping to the in-level content,
Okay.
which, and I think the brief explanation I saw, and it didn't stay up long, I think it's been pulled down, was that they didn't want to have to try and explain to other people why you would need to buy a second expansion to up, like if you had 2 characters. So they were just offering it, and I think it was like $60 too. It was not cheap.
See if, obviously World of Warcraft, they know what they're doing. They've had a very successful game for a long period of time. A lot of people are trying to emulate the success that they've had. But I would, as a player, I would want something where maybe you could have an item that is a multiplier. That's the thing that I always get if I'm ever given a power up, like in, say, like Borderlands or even like the Lego games.
Especially the Lego games.
Especially the Lego games where you get the multiplier for the studs. I always invest in the XP or the money multiplier because like the sooner that you get that, the better off you are. You ever played the Lego games?
I have not played any of the Lego games.
Your kids aren't old enough yet.
Not yet.
But
Soon.
Man, it's a lot of fun. But it's also like you got to like teach them. Like my youngest kid, it's like, okay, we're not gonna, this really awesome character they just showed you. Like he loves Unikitty from the latest Lego one. Michael and Lindsay, he was telling me that they got to the point where they unlocked Unikitty, business Unikitty from the where she's in the business meeting. Have you seen the Lego movie?
I have not seen the movie yet either.
So it's this funny little, like, it's almost like a My Little Pony character. And it's she's in a business meeting one time. She has a business suit on, and it's hilarious. It's played by Allison Brie from Community, is the voice of it. And they unlocked business Unikitty in the game, and it was 1 million studs, which is a lot. It's a lot for that
sounds like a
economy.
lot.
Yeah. And like they had to have a sit down talk as a couple. Like, look, we're not going to buy Unikitty. We got other stuff we got unlocked first. And it was like a big thing. I think they went ahead and bought it anyway. And the funny thing was, knowing Michael and Lindsay, I don't know who was arguing to buy business Unikitty. I'm pretty sure it was Lindsay though. Because A, it's a cat, and B, it's cute. So
But
that's
it's
Lindsay's
also
Achilles
kind
heel.
of My Little Pony.
Yeah, I know,
true.
right? I think Michael has backed
toss
off
up.
the brony thing.
I have not heard much of that.
But maybe it's just because he's on the Unikitty train.
You think so?
Which is something
He's
I think
going
we can
down
all
that-
get behind.
Man, once you go down the Unikitty.
I'm gonna ask Lindsay right now. We don't have our green screen today. Unfortunately, she can't join us and ask us or can answer this, but I'll find out over messaging. So I didn't want to get too far away from. So we were talking about.
We're talking about garbs is what we're talking about, guys.
Yeah, we were
Oh,
also
I'm sorry,
we also
yeah.
kind of went a little bit over the GTA thing, which is also in the
Dressing
news
up
today
like-
because
It
we
is.
mentioned GTA.
Yet another lawsuit coming out of the woodwork for someone claiming that they stole their life story and made it GTA's.
Well, this one might actually hold some water, though. When I first heard about it, my first thought was, oh, great, someone else thinks they're Bikini Girl. But the fact that this is going, no, I think I'm the character in a random, in this random side mission, but you change the names, but you have every detail of my life otherwise.
the only thing about that though is if the way that I've seen it recanted in a couple different stories.
There's a picture of him right there.
Yeah, the way that I've seen it recanted in a couple different stories, it is the most generic story of a. I mean, I think I've seen that same story in 12 different cop dramas. I'm sure
that is very true.
it's not anything unique.
And for those who aren't, I guess, across it yet, because it's just come up, I want to say today, this chick that was on, let me pull up her name, this chick that was on Mob Wives, she was the daughter of a mob boss who, her name was Karen Gravano. She was on the first 3 seasons of Mob Wives, and she's the daughter of Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano, who was a Gambino crime family underboss.
I'm not laughing at it. I think this is a serious issue, and I would never laugh at a retired mobster.
Underboss who turned to witness for the government as part of his plea bargain. And in the game, you can encounter a random mission where you run into this chick who's getting buried alive, and if you save her, she tells you that her father is a retired crime family underboss who turned snitch. So yes, it is very generic. It does come up in pretty much every mod
Sammy
thing.
Or Salvatore.
But his name is Sammy. It's like they just changed the last names and went, it's close enough.
Yeah, it's like I was actually surprised, and I don't want to wish this on anybody, but I was actually surprised with the GTA Online debacle that they had at launch. I was actually surprised that Rockstar was not hit with a class action lawsuit.
They weren't they?
Were they? Was that something you reported?
You're probably thinking of EA and Battlefield. At
EA
this point.
definitely
That was the big class action last year. I don't know that anyone ended up suing over that, or if they did, it
because Rockstar is a target for post-release action. Like, even remember the voice actor for Nico.
For GTA.
Remember, he went public and was like, he never sued, but he was just like fussing a ton and saying he was owed a lot more money for playing Nico, which was just a bad idea in general. And this, I mean, it's like, I'm surprised we don't hear about more stuff like this.
Well, this is the third one just for GTA 5. There was the guy who said his music was in the game without his permission, Daz Dillinger, I want to say. And then there was the whole Lindsay Lohan thing.
Oh, there was another one, too. There was a strip club that also sued.
There was a strip club, too.
Yeah, claiming that, I think it was, it was Playpen. With that claim
Tell us more,
that
Ryan.
Pigpen was based on it. That's the extent of my knowledge. But I mean, that's the problem with an open world game like that, especially if you're telling a lot of stories in it, is that there's so much more opportunity for this sort of thing to happen.
Did you run into this story? Do you remember when you played?
No, I'm sure I probably did, and it was probably it wasn't big, right? It was a pretty small.
No, it's one of
storyline.
those little random like light blue dot encounters. It's one of the
missed it.
Did you complete all the
I haven't
single player?
100% it yet. No,
I haven't either, but mainly because of some of the online stuff. But it's one of those light blue dots where you had to get like 14 of those encounters.
So can you 100% the game without completing all the light blue dots? Like, what if the light blue dot comes up? You go, I don't have time for this right now. You come back later. Is she still being buried alive?
No,
Did it
you
just
basically
take a really long time, or can you just miss that one?
You drive through the city. Is it Los Santos?
Yeah.
I want to say Los Perdidos, but that's the Dead Rising 3. You drive through it, and you get these little blue dots on the side of the road. But they'll happen when you're in the middle of another mission, too. So it's always like, do I stop and help or something like that? There are ones in particular. I think there's one where like there's a car broken down the side of the road. I think that one is tied more so to location. But a lot of times it's just random encounters that happen. It's a lot like, did you ever see when I was playing when you'd run into an armored car? It's along those same kind of lines as those things. They just kind of pop up.
I think you used a gas station to blow it up.
I did. I used a gas. That was actually one I had to do that way, I think.
I felt really bad. I very much intended to play GTA 5. I remember I have my own copy of it.
How could you not? Huge game.
Honestly, I think it's that I'm just not enough of a rule breaker. I would wait at traffic. I waited at traffic lights, and I just went.
You were waiting at traffic lights.
I guess I just wished it was more like Red Dead Redemption. I just want to ride a horse around.
I'm pretty sure every traffic light in that game is always red whenever you come to it. So that would have been the most miserable experience
I can guarantee. Bernie came in, he saw me trying to play, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Waiting to turn right."
She's like leaning forward in her chair, trying to get a good view. Yeah, there was 14 encounters in GTA 5, all of which you had to complete for the 100% completion. Which was one of the achievements in the game, along with other stuff. There was like you had to get, I think, half the bridge and half the what do they call it, the knife flights. They had to do those. So so I was working my way through those. I don't think I have. I don't think I have 100% completion because I'm still working on my hidden jumps. They have to do and
stunt jumps.
Yeah, stunt jumps, and I haven't done those yet.
Great guides over on achievementhunter.com.
If only, yes, you would go to achievementhunter.com. It's actually one of my favorite things that Achievement Hunter does Jack spends on those types of games, those open world games. Jack, and there's other people that help him. He does maps, interactive maps of the world, and you can click and see where to go. I think the thing that got me to the point where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore was going underwater and looking for nuclear waste.
That is pretty bad. Yeah, that whole mechanic was awful. The submarine was so slow and ponderous, and it was not a good mechanic.
It's kind of like the equivalent if they just said, hey, why don't you just walk around the border of the entire continent or the island that we have built? Just walk it once. And it's like, that's basically what you're doing, but you're doing it underwater, you know? But it says a lot that they went through and modeled all that stuff underwater. It's crazy.
It's pretty, but don't make me take a tour.
Listen, dude, if I was working at Rockstar and I was the dude who like planted a piece of coral at this point in the ocean, I'm like, we're going to make a mission to make sure people see that I did all this freaking work, modeling the seafloor.
Well, there was a mod that, this came up a while ago. It was a mod for, like, you had to have like a jailbroken PS3, I want to say, but it basically was like a post-typhoon version of Los Santos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where half of it was like underwater and you could like go diving down and see it. The video that I saw looked pretty cool.
There's a lot of cool stuff you can mod on that
But
game.
not many people are ever going to like see that, which is kind of a bummer.
Which is actually, that was done in GTA 4 first. It was a mod for GTA 4. I don't know if the same people ported it over, but yeah, I mean, it's a really neat idea.
Which on the PC is, I'm assuming, is where they did it?
Yes, on the PC.
That game, its life on the PC has been insane. Some of the screenshots I see from that are like way better than stuff that is coming out in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
It's
people have taken it a lot further than it was ever designed for, and it's still getting mods today.
Yeah.
In fact, people have ported North Stockton. I'm saying it wrong. The starting area for GTA 5. They've actually ported that over onto the PC version of GTA 4 now because they're tired of waiting.
Really? They just modeled it and they're getting going?
It's a good question. I don't know if they ripped the assets from it, which they may have done. They may have actually pulled the assets from the PS3.
It's so crazy. I mean, it goes back to the GTA Online thing. I mean, they plan this thing out and they put it out, but you just don't know until you put it out in front of the public what you're going to be dealing with. We recently have been testing a Minecraft server for sponsors. We talked about it a little bit before on the patch, and we talked about it in the RT podcast. And it was like, I've run communities for a long time. We've all been involved with internet communities, digital communities for a long time now. And so you kind of have this idea of like, well, why don't we set it up this way and we'll make these rules and we'll try to do this. And then it's like, nope, let's just put it out there and let's let everything kind of reach an equilibrium and see what happens. And sure enough, it always does. Like, it's like, it started off where people were, trying to interact with each other. And then like they tried to form like these rudimentary governments.
Like Lord of the Flies style, or
sort of, yeah. It was like more like suburban HOA style, where they had like a council, and you had to answer to the council. And then there are always griefers, which or killers, people who is a PvP server where if you died one time, the server would boot you and ban you. So it was like one life, seriously, one life on this thing. Of course, I've also learned, which I didn't realize, people have like 20 to 30 Minecraft accounts.
Really?
People who are serious about this. That's like $20 to $30 a pop now. Well, for a Minecraft account.
Well, Notch just announced that Minecraft, the original Minecraft, which I'm assuming refers specifically to Minecraft PC, just passed 100 million registered accounts.
100 million?
14.3% of which have converted to paid accounts.
What's the best-selling video game like by retail copy if you consider that as an account? Because basically, if you buy an account on Minecraft, and I'm assuming he's not gonna report any pirated accounts or anything like that.
No, that'd be
sales. Basically, is what he's saying.
Yeah, so 14.3%.
Wow, 100 million.
So because you have to register an account to play the demo as well, but then 14.3% of those convert to paid accounts.
I see. Okay, so if you got 100 million, then 14.3 million copies sold.
Yeah, because I want to say it was just at the beginning of this month they announced that they'd sold 14 million on PC. So that's
okay. Well, I mean, neglecting, all the different versions on console and all that stuff. I mean, it's still not the best-selling game of all time because Call of Duty's like, what, the 28 million? One of the Modern Warfare's is?
Yeah. I want to say the conservative estimate with between Pocket and 360 and PS3 and all that is that Minecraft has sold at the very, very least 35 million copies.
Ooh. And it still has 2 more platforms to come out on, too.
Yep.
So. Well, okay. So here, this is from Wikipedia. But best-selling video games of all time by copies sold: Tetris is number 1 with 143 million copies sold.
Hey, man, it's got a lot of platforms to work with.
We've talked about this one before. Wii Sports is at 82 million copies because it was bundled with the Wii. 82 million copies sold of Wii Sports. And then Minecraft checks in at 42 million copies, 41.8 across PC, mobile, phone, same thing, Xbox 360, and now PlayStation 3. Soon to be Xbox One. And have they announced it for PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah, they have.
I mean, it's been on the roadmap for all consoles forever.
Even if they haven't announced it, it's any console you have, it's coming.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a BlackBerry version of Minecraft.
Except for probably the Wii U.
What's that?
Except for probably the Wii U, which
They did actually say that
they said
explicitly.
it's unlikely.
It would be fun to use the Wii controllers for the bow, though. That would be a little bit of fun. I would have fun with that.
You would have a lot of fun with that.
Thwip.
I'm glad it's not coming to Wii U all of a sudden.
But yeah, so this the group on there, and then it's like, so they had this kind of like pseudo equilibrium for the first couple days, and then it was just some people online can't control themselves. They just can't, and you have to give them an opportunity
Bernie's
to not
one of those
control
people,
themselves.
by the way.
I'm totally not one of those
We'll
people.
go into this in a minute. Continue
I
your story.
invited Jack in. I made him an op. That was brutal.
I heard about what Jack did, yes.
Jack was like raining creepers from the sky because I was showing him commands on how to do stuff on
He
PC.
did come in the next day and say he felt bad that he didn't mean to actually drop a bunch of creepers on people that killed them, but
I didn't
did.
mean to drop a bunch of creepers on people 10 different times. That's the way that sentence should be finished because that's what Jack did.
That's a very Chicago kind of line.
But there's some people like I have no problem with if it's an even stakes. That's the way a game should be. And yeah, having PvP turned on allows people to kill each other. But if that's established part of the game when you walk in, then you have the same ability to ban somebody else essentially. So it should theoretically work out to where it's self-moderating because, oh, this idiot killed a bunch of people. We're all going to gang up and kill this guy because there's 60 players that can play on this thing.
Suddenly you're reenacting Beowulf.
Suddenly you are. Right. And that's part of the fun is like you have a villain. But there's some people who don't get the line between villainy and breaking the game. Like they were doing a thing where they dug out the spawn and they covered it with essentially with a dome so people couldn't get out and it just spawned a bunch of monsters so that new players would come in and they just die. Even when they're offline, they're doing this. And it's just like, there's just some people that don't get it. And you got to give them the opportunity to reveal themselves to do it. And so the whole purpose of the experiment we're doing is is to determine who on the server can be ops for the server. But if you start off by saying that, like, who would be an op for the server? Then you have people auditioning for it, and then you get all the wrong people, basically. So it's like now we've gone through and selected people who are going to be ops for the server.
Now, on the subject of Bernie not being a benevolent god.
Do tell.
It's okay.
Every single time I come and see him, he goes, I'm just checking on the server. He is at all times flying around, invisible, like being like, lightning there, lightning there.
I lightning
I
creepers.
just lightning creepers.
I
No, but
never saw
sometimes-
supercharged creepers, so I always lightning creepers.
But he sometimes just lightnings the ground for fun. And
Just
I
to
want to
clear
say,
people
was
out.
it last night? Some people on the server decided to have a seance in the graveyard, which is a little bit random.
They have a
And
graveyard
he's-
where so when somebody dies, they run into the graveyard, they make a sign of how the person died. So
That's
you end
sweet.
up with a huge graveyard.
It was a very impressive graveyard. In fact, I think they might be
We
making.
have a picture of it actually
I think
on the
they're
screen.
making
Yes,
the.
that's the start of it, yeah.
But if you look at that picture, I think they're making the graves preemptively, and then they're just like putting signs on them later
They're
on.
now mass,
It's like-
they're
it's
mass
very-
producing graves.
It's
They're like
very
FEMA.
well organized. Anyway, so there was this seance, and Bernie goes, "They're having a seance."
Let's make the
And he
seance
goes-
work.
And he goes and he just spawns like 15 zombies, like right there. And so all the zombies come around the side of the church and start attacking all the people. And it was
Oh, that's great.
It was
And they had a
funny,
blast, and nobody
but it's
died.
not benevolent.
And nobody died. But that's fun because they were having a seance. So I thought, hey, let's make their seance effective. So here are, by the way, it's 32 zombies. I just want to point out.
Sorry. 32 zombies.
You know, and it does get to the point where, where we had to reset the server every now and then because they build up stuff so fast. I mean, the graveyard right there, they showed the ban list of people who actually just showed up, got killed, or played for a while and got killed, was up to 1,800 people this morning.
Wow.
Since Monday. And today we're recording this on Wednesday. And this is like the second or third iteration of this. It's like the Matrix. Zion's been killed a few times. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been a cool test, and we'll see. And it's amazing what legs that game Minecraft has. I mean, we still talk about it, even though it's a current events video game podcast. I mean, Minecraft is still very much a huge part of the culture. Maybe we should talk about Tetris and Wii Sports. It's apparently a really popular topic.
Apparently. What's amazing to me about that is that Tetris as Tetris. Like, I mean, Tetris had so many iterations. It's hard to say that it shipped that many copies. Or are they talking literally about the original OG Tetris?
I think they're just talking about. Okay, it says here systems are Game Boy, Game Boy Color, NES, and mobile phone. So that is the original Tetris.
Wow.
Like they're not
like Ultimate Tetris.
Yeah, not like Super Doctor whatever
Tetris 2, the
man.
Tetrisening.
I forget who wrote it, but there was a review I read of the Tetris that came out for Xbox Live Arcade when the 360 first launched, or somewhere in the first couple of years. And the rating they gave it was so low, and the damning one-line review that the reviewer gave it was, this game accomplishes something that nothing else in the Tetris genre has ever accomplished. It broke the game of Tetris. What they basically said was the mechanic where when you were spinning a piece, it stopped dropping. So you could just sit there and rotate a piece until you found out where it would go. And it's like,
That's
yeah,
lame.
how do you not
do that.
how do you not catch that, right?
That's
how do you not find that?
That's not Tetris.
Yeah.
Nobody will buy that.
So and they might have patched and fixed it. I don't know.
Well,
That sounds like it was intended, though.
Yeah.
Like an intended feature.
But then you
you
get a
make
game
it easier.
So
the
you got to bring in a
kids-
new generation
yeah,
of Tetris fans.
Let them learn. On the easy thing though, not hard.
and there's a lot of games that spawn variations or inspired by.
Like perhaps Candy Crush.
Like I was gonna say, like Candy Crush. Like, did we count Candy Crush with Bejeweled? Since obviously it's so
It's
close
a
to
match
Bejeweled.
3.
Hey, there's Candy Crush news. You want to talk about Candy Crush?
There is
Sure.
Candy Crush news.
But I was thinking like Dr. Mario. I mean, that's obviously a weird offshoot of Tetris in some way.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't consider it that.
True. Yeah. I mean, it definitely went a different direction in the sense that you didn't have shapes so much to deal with as colors.
Yeah, it was definitely like stuff is falling, but it was match, this half of this
There was
thing.
still gravity, but the objects were different.
In fact, the game that I play on mobile phone right now, the one I'm addicted to, is Threes. It's such a great game. It's on iOS devices. And that reminds me, the reason I like it so much, it reminds me of a game I used to play called Tesserae on the Mac. My mother was a high school teacher, so we had all Macs, or she had all Macs. And Tesserae was like one of the only games they had. And I have never seen it since then. It was like early 90s. And I'd love to find that game again if somebody knows where to get a copy of Tesserae. It might even Tesseract.
I'm sure it's been duplicated in some kind of Flash portal at this point. I mean, everything has some kind of a second life now. I've even seen Threes in multiple Flash variations.
There's Descent is on the Steam store right now.
There it is.
Yeah.
And Descent 2.
Is it really?
Yeah, they're both back.
What would you
For
like to see?
$10.
What would you like to see come back? What games from your past?
Oh.
Well,
man.
let's see. Final Fantasy 7 and 8 came back. Those aren't from my past. They're just old classic hits that everyone apparently everyone else played. I would like to see really, really old stuff. This is going to sound bad. It's not even a good game. It's the Journeyman Project. I think I played after I got through like my Myst phase and I was looking for more puzzle games. I played the Journeyman Project. I want to say it was Legacy of Time. I think it was the third one, and then I went like to the earlier ones in the series to play it. It's cool though. I got to go to Atlantis and solve problems before it sank.
This might be the worst cover art for any video game I've ever seen ever.
What is it?
It's too low res to even like give it up on the screen. Is that it?
No, that's the original Journeyman Project.
Oh, you're not an OG.
No. Like I said,
You're
I
not an
started
OG
on the
JP.
third one. But it was a lot of fun. It was very much in that Myst style of like you have to go and solve all these puzzle things. But
I think the game I
Crazy
remember
historical locations.
most from Super Nintendo that I sank the most hours into was actually The Secret of Mana. It was a RPG title that had a little bit more of the real-time combat, though.
there's a new Secret of Mana game coming apparently.
Is there?
Yeah, let me look that up. I just saw
I
something
win.
about
That's
that
like on
today.
demand. Look at you. You wish for it, and here it is, instantaneously. Isn't the future great?
Well, while you're looking for that, let me read this real quick.
Okay.
You've probably tried Hulu.com. Hulu Plus is so much more. With Hulu Plus, you can watch your favorite shows anytime, anywhere. Hulu Plus lets you watch thousands of hit TV shows and movies in the living room or on the go with your smartphone or tablet. With Hulu Plus, you can watch your favorite TV shows like SNL, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Shark Tank, and Scandal. Watch every episode of shows like Lost, Law & Order SVU, Doctor Who, and Community. You can also check out exclusive content, including Hulu originals like The Wrong Mans and Behind the Mask, Hulu's new docu-series that takes you inside the world of sports mascots. You'll also get access to a collection of ad-free movies and kids content. For only $7.99 a month, lips starting over. For only $7.99 a month, catch up on current shows, binge on old favorites, or catch a great movie. Stream as many TV shows and movies as you want, whenever you want, or wherever you want. Right now, you can try Hulu Plus free for 2 weeks when you go to huluplus.com huluplus.com/patch. They tried to mess me up. It's got an extra TO in there. Look at that.
They're jackasses.
Patrick.
Unbelievable.
When you go to huluplus.com/patch, that's a special offer for our listeners. Make sure you use huluplus.com/patch so you can get the extended free trial and they know that we sent you. Go to huluplus.com/patch right now for your extended 2-week free trial.
I want to point out they also have a gaming section. We talk about this a lot on Hulu. Not just Hulu Plus, but on Hulu as well. And they also have trailers so you can go see the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, which looks amazing.
It does look pretty good.
It looks really good.
I was worried about it, honestly.
I'm just tired of getting grief about saying that I didn't like the trailer. And people are like, they want.
Are you backtracking?
No, I'm not backtracking. I am backtracking, yes.
He's caving to popular opinion.
Damage control.
Openly backtracking. No, I just don't want people to think that I want a movie to fail. I don't want that at all. But I will wait and see. Like, I even think Ben Affleck as Batman's going to be good.
I thought he's out now.
Is he really?
I don't know.
I don't think he's out.
The last news I heard was that they pushed the schedule and that he might be out.
Oh.
What is
I don't know if that's completely unsubstantiated. I may just be making this up.
But the internet already
to
coined the
drop
term
one fake
Batfleck.
Batfleck.
Now it has to happen.
They'll just get Matt Damon to do it.
So
Matt Damon.
the new Secret of Mana title is hitting mobile in Japan, so you might have to travel a little bit or import it or something.
Port me
but it's going to be called
import a Japanese mobile phone? Why not?
Rise of Mana, a free-to-play action role-playing game. And it comes out in Japan this week.
Man, somebody the other day whipped
Mana
out
begins.
a mobile phone, and this thing was like, I don't know what it was, but it was like this big. It was like
That looks like my first mobile phone.
It was somewhere between a tablet and like
Was
the
it like a
biggest
7-inch
smartphone I've ever seen.
tablet?
It was about that big. It was slightly smaller than that iPad Mini, basically. I mean, it was like maybe 80% of the size of that.
Hello?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Night at the Roxbury?
Yeah.
So you know
No. No.
you what?
He's backtracking, instantly backtracking.
They have they've got the enormous those original brick were they Motorola? What were they? Those enormous phones.
They're probably Motorola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first cell phone.
You had a brick phone?
My grandma gave it to me. When she was done with it, I guess. I didn't have a mobile phone, until I was most of the way through high school and if you told me that one day I would be playing games on my phone, I probably would have thrown it at you and killed you.
The camera that's on the phone that I carry in my pocket every day is better than the camera that I shot my first movie with. Like, if I'd had a high-def camera to shoot with, I mean, even when I could carry around on my shoulder, I would have been ecstatic. It's just, things move fast. My boss at my old job, though, he had, as late as 2004, he had one of those big brick phones. And the reason he had it was he did a lot of traveling, and he could get reception on that thing anywhere.
Well, that's because it's basically like its own tower.
It pretty much is.
Comes with a satellite dish.
He had to
geosynchronous satellite.
He had to fire up a Jenny to run the thing. But every time he would call, every time he would call AT&T about his normal iPhone or whatever, I don't think an iPhone, but his normal smartphone service, the person would be like, "There's another line item here. What is this thing?" They're like, "I'll turn that off." He's like, "Don't touch that," because he knew he'd never get it back if they ever turned it off. Yeah. So.
Well, jumping back a bit here, Candy Crush.
All right.
Candy Crush.
So they gave up.
Sidetracker.
They lost.
Listen,
Well, they didn't
free
lose.
flow conversation.
Well,
They didn't lose. They were awarded the trademark and then decided
Hulu
to
Plus.
abandon it because they decided it would be too hard to enforce as a trademark, and they'd much rather just buy an older game and enforce on that instead.
Which they did.
They did.
Candy Crusher, yeah.
Successful.
Which is what led to the guy's sob story from the last patch that we talked about.
Yeah, the guy from was Candy Swipe? Was that it?
Yeah, sounds right. Yeah.
It's great that we all felt so bad for this guy. Now we're struggling
Don't
to
remember his
who-
product,
who
but
he is. Yeah, that sucks.
still
too.
feel bad for the guy, though.
Well, here's what I think is weird. So that original game, was Candy Crusher a match 3? Because if it was a
I
match
don't
3
think so.
game, that predates Candy Crush by so many years. Why would that guy sell to them instead of saying, "You copied my game and the name of my game," and just take them for everything they've got?
I mean,
would you do
unfortunately,
that?
it's that
Easier
game
to take
type-
money.
Well, that's
if they show
true.
up with cash, it's easier to take the money.
Yeah, Candy Crush had the name recognition at that point. No one had ever heard of Candy Crusher.
Doesn't mean it couldn't have won
Someone
in a
has,
court
I'm
of
sure.
law.
True, but at the same time,
Law.
that's an uphill battle against a company that's already making lots of money. So they've got all the lawyers at this point, which is why everybody was mad at them. They're shoving everybody out of the way.
You know, I'll tell you where all the money is right now. You got to find somebody who made a game in 2007 called Candy Crushing Thing, and then buy them, and then you go after could somebody do that? Could somebody buy an earlier version? Say somebody else had come in and you have a product on the market, and somebody had come in and bought this Candy Crusher game, could they then sue
Yeah.
King?
Well, I
Because
mean,
that would seem
basically,
ridiculous.
If they could establish that they owned the rights to a product that predated that one, then they would have a stronger claim to the trademark or
Which
the
is
copyright.
exactly why King bought them.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, is one to stop anyone else being able to do that, but so that then they can go to anything that came out after 2009 and say, ha ha,
Yeah, but you
that
know,
specifically.
once they that's lawyer talk for you getting your ass sued.
And then they slap you with a briefcase.
I believe they call it an attaché. The reasoning they were giving for buying this earlier title actually sounded very noble, and they were saying that they bought it so they could selectively go after people who were trying to copy their IP, not so they had a broad trademark that they quote unquote had to defend, which we've talked about before.
Yeah, you know, and that does make sense, I guess,
As long as they do it that way.
as long as they do it that way.
It is smart because it does make it seem like
They did
now
go
when we
after
take
Banner
action.
Saga.
They
Man.
did. They did.
That was a PR move that should have happened like 3 weeks ago, though. I mean, they're already on the downslope of public opinion. That's really a hard fight to get back
But
into
here's
good
the thing:
graces.
is like so the core gaming audience knows about this and cares and thinks that that King are a bunch of assholes. But the people that are playing Candy Crush and and paying all the microtransactions, they don't know. They don't care. It's very much not a core gamer title.
That's true. It is more leaning towards the casual, uninterested kind of.
Yeah,
Group.
it almost seems like the PR, this PR move is unnecessary because none of the people that are actually paying them care.
Well, you know what's motivating all this is that King's about to go through an IPO. They're going public.
They are.
Yeah, and so that now they have to figure this stuff out. They have to navigate these PR issues.
I was going to say, I mean, it's usually just like with BioShock's studio closing down. It's not about what they're doing right now. It's what they want to do in the future. So if the King name has been drugged through the mud, when they start putting out their next title, everybody's going to be really negative about it just because based on their history.
That's true.
So they got to kind of clean it up a little, but it's a hard fight right now.
Well, the thing that one of my more fiscally minded friends was talking to me about with this King IPO, and I don't have the exact numbers, so I won't attempt to paraphrase them, is that he was talking about that the King IPO in particular was of interest to people because of the percentage of King's IP or profitability or the revenue that is attributable directly to Candy Crush, the game itself. Because you report the revenues, then you report the revenues of the game. You can very clearly see what percentage of the company is this game. And he said, so basically a lot of people looking at this is saying, this is one property. They're picking a property public, which is something you might be able to do when you build a dynasty, but this is one game, and these mobile games tend to be flashes in the pan. Look what happened to Draw Something when it was OMG Pop, and they were bought by, we talked about this last week.
Zynga and then shut down.
Zynga, and then as soon as Zynga bought them, I don't know personally if it was people just disliking Zynga or if the game was just run its course.
I think the game had run its course. That was announced that acquisition was actually announced, I thought, like quite a ways after that game had begun its decline. It was just like it took too long. They didn't get it at its peak. Reading on this, the Candy Crush King IPO facts. So this financing is amazing. It's like basically King's a one-trick pony. They have 93 million daily active users on Candy Crush. And their next most popular one is 15 million active daily users.
Which is still not a small number.
Who play an average of less than 9 games a day. The 93 million, the player is playing like a dozen games a day.
It's a lot of people.
That's still a lot of people.
93 million people playing it a dozen times a day. So that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the average. That's insane.
Yeah, we talked
That's
about
a lot of ads served.
This kind of brings together a lot of topics we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks. Like we were talking about Flappy Bird and how much he was generating, the one person in Vietnam, for Flappy Bird in advertising revenue per day. And then we were making jokes about how that means Clash of Clans must be making a ton of money because they're all the ads on Flappy Bird. Sure enough, we were looking into it and how much Clash of Clans makes on a daily basis. And then you look at what's going on with Irrational, where they made a successful game like BioShock, and then they just reduce their team because they want to make smaller mobile games. It's like, this is the way that things are heading.
Little mobile games make money. I mean, was it the Heavenly Blade, Infinity
Infinity
Sword,
Blade?
something.
No, it's Infinity Blade.
Okay, there we go. I knew if I just put together enough swordy sounding words, I'd come up with the right one.
Heavenly
at some
Blade
point.
Infinity Sword is a much different franchise that I enjoyed playing.
Like that makes more for Epic than anything else.
Yeah.
Which is,
And it's-
I'm like, I want to be insulted by that, and, but I can't fault developers for moving into areas that make money for less work.
Which is not just Epic either. It's Chair, the developer, who it's unfortunate. It's not unfortunate they're successful. Kudos to them.
They made Shadow Complex.
They made
didn't
Shadow
they?
Complex, which was like
was
one of the
so
best
good.
downloadable titles ever. And then because they're making so much money on Infinity Blade, why make Shadow Complex? Shadow Complex was a great game. Did you ever play it?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
haven't
good.
finished it, but I played a lot of it.
So good. So like total throwback title with like updates that made it such a great game. Such a great game.
Yeah, it's at one point though, does this become like a giant circle jerk though? Okay, so Candy Crush is sending people over to what was the name of it?
Infinity Blade?
No. Candy Crush is sending all the people to that clan.
Oh,
whatever.
Clash of
Clash
Clans.
of Clans,
Yeah.
all right. So
It's Flatbird's doing that, yeah.
like all of these mobile games are all
They're just running ads
served
for each
ads
other?
for other games. I mean, are they just passing the money around?
It's just, I think it's mainly that to get that mind share of being on the top 10 list on the mobile phones, which is like the number one way to think that people choose games on iOS devices and smartphones. There's so much money in being up there. I mean, that's how I've discovered most of my apps. I mean, we go to the App Store, there's like 85,000 apps. I'm going to pick the most popular one. I really am. I'm going to do that. I mean, it's a big, look, you could look at what we do on online video as well. A lot of times when I'm looking up a topic on YouTube, if something has 85 million views, that's the video I want to watch. I just have this idea that like if 85 million people watch it, that's the one that's going to help me figure out how to use World Edit on Minecraft,
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's the good tutorial.
Or will be so terrible that it'll be worth laughing
Or
at.
it's got a misleading thumbnail that has
One or the
fooled
other.
85 million people. Yeah, exactly right. So, and I think that's why they do it. It's marketing,
Well, talking about legal troubles. So you want to talk about Duke Nukem?
Yeah.
Do you have
yeah.
that quote?
So this goes back. This goes actually back to what we were saying a couple minutes ago about buying an IP that's older and then like who owns the rights to it. How many times can you sell the rights to one game?
Well, if you're 3D Realms, apparently as many times as possible.
News
Just
item
copy
number
'em.
1, 3D Realm still exists. Who knew? I thought they went under like 12 times.
Right? I had no idea they were still around.
Well, apparently they're still around and still making Duke Nukem games, which they no
Or
longer have the
trying
rights
to.
to.
Makes no sense. That makes no sense to me.
Bizarre.
It's a company that has been completely incapable of shipping a Duke Nukem game for decades. And yet they're still trying even though they don't own it.
The top story, April 3rd, 2013 on 3drealms.com is Duke Nukem 2 now available on iOS.
Oh my God.
So there we go.
So, yeah, I mean, so
what
Gearbox is
happened?
obviously suing them. Well, so they've been teasing a new game.
Right.
A new Duke Nukem game.
A new Duke Nukem game.
They put up a teaser site that's, I want to say it was like alloutofgum.com, something like that, teasing an upcoming Duke Nukem game. But here's the catch. They sold the rights to Duke Nukem to Gearbox, and this is the rights for all future use of the property, the characters, everything. They sold that to Gearbox in 2010. They've already been to court over this once.
We got the teaser on the screen right now, the alloutofgum.com, which did go down briefly when they were you first hit with this litigation.
It's just what does it take for it to stick with your company that you sold you sold the rights, you don't have them anymore? Does going to court over rights once not do it?
And it's not a decision that happens by accident. When you sell the rights to something, you know that you've done it. It's like a major decision in the company.
There's some paperwork involved.
Right. Yeah. It's a big distinction. And so they sold the rights to Gearbox. Gearbox makes Duke Nukem 3D. What? Duke Nukem Forever?
Yeah.
Listen.
Finally put it out. And they had some choice words to say about the assets they got.
And they've been.
Yes, they did.
You got to read some of these legal letters they've been sending back and forth to each
Oh,
other
God,
because
they're
they're so
so
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
The quote
Yeah.
I've got right here is, the mountain of problems subsequently uncovered by Gearbox cannot be captured in this single pleading.
Yeah. Like they were taking
Wow.
shots at their horrible coding and everything else.
What was they called? They called it like an impenetrable jigsaw puzzle,
A
technological
technological jigsaw puzzle of a video game.
They're talking about the
Sorely
garbage
deficient.
that Gearbox is saying that what they received from 3D
Mm-hmm.
Realms was so bad that, I mean, there's no reason even really to say that. That like they had to rework everything anyway. There couldn't be any technology left that 3D Realms gave them that they could be using. Like they're basically saying there's no argument legally they can make to claim that they have the rights to still make this game.
And there was already a suit here too. Gearbox already sued 3D Realms about not paying up, I think, properly for the royalties and such of the property. And then at the end of that, they lost and 3D Realms apologized.
And then they
Openly.
published the apology letter.
Yeah, Gearbox posted the apology letter. That's nice. That's a good business move.
In a weird turn of fate, though, it turned out it was plagiarized from Shia LaBeouf.
Stop creating.
Wow.
Here's the thing, too, at the end of the day. Here's the deal. They're fighting over Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about this franchise? I mean, it's like this became a meme level franchise of it's never coming out.
It's a pretty dirty fight over something that nobody cares about.
Wasn't the one that Gearbox put out just a complete bomb? Am I wrong in that?
I mean, it sold a fair number of copies because everybody had waited so long for it. I mean, the thing that
Right.
Duke Nukem still has is it's got a lot of name recognition. Everybody recognizes Duke Nukem as a title. Now, they may now remember it as a really poor choice they made at a video game store one day, but they at least remember the name. From there, though, people have turned around weirder situations.
I'm going to look at the Metacritic score for Duke Nukem Forever and see how it did.
Oh, this is going to go well.
Ugh. Not looking good.
Yeah, no, but I mean, they did at least deliver a game. I mean, you could give them
54
that.
out of 100. User score is 5.8.
54, and this is in an era where anything less than a 7.5 is utter garbage.
Yeah, let me give you a baseline. Give me another game. Let's look up
Look up a bad game.
Superman 64.
There you go.
All right. Let me look up Modern Warfare and see what that got. The original. That's a huge hit. I like saying positive, not.
You want to go take the high road?
Yeah,
All right,
let's do
all
it.
right. I respect that.
Let me see here. Let's see what Modern Warfare
Boring,
got when it came
but-
out. 92. It got a
92
Metacritic score.
Wow.
So,
All right.
Okay.
When Modern Warfare came out. Very beloved game. So Duke Nukem is half that game. Modern Warfare was. So, you would have half the experience and enjoyment if you bought Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like I at that point, it's you would have to have the discussion of like, well, we have this franchise that we paid a bunch of money for, but we got to pay the lawyers like $150 an hour to defend it. Is it even worth defending it for like, let's give it like 8 hours?
Well, here's the thing.
defense time.
Do you wait and be like, all right, let them launch it. We'll see if it's successful. If it makes a lot of money, then we go get the money.
If you can do that, I don't know if you can do that. I mean, maybe that's why they do it so openly and so publicly and putting teasers up. So it's like inviting action essentially.
You can't pretend you didn't know.
So weird. Yeah, but it's like it's not the same game. But I've always been fascinated by the Fallout franchise and the rights to like the MMO and the game and like who owns
Yeah, that was
what.
a weird thing.
Yeah. All this stuff is always so like locked up. Rights are so weird. On the patch the podcast this week, we were talking about Marvel's rights to their like the X-Men and Spider-Man. It's like Marvel's
they're
done
bizarre.
Marvel's done a great job of like cultivating all the rights, getting them all back in, corralling them in a way over time, but they just don't have X-Men and Spider-Man back yet.
Yes, Sony has those. Is that right?
Sony has,
Sony has Spider-Man. for
Spider-Man, yeah.
because that's what the PS3 was based on. What was that? Why did
Spider-Man font?
Why did it look so much like the Spider-Man font?
No idea.
Yeah, there was
Maybe
some
that
dude.
was maybe that was just future font at the time. That was
It
the
was.
future font of choice.
Yeah.
Um,
And I don't know who has. Let me see who has the rights to the X-Men. Who has rights?
so
to
we
the
don't have a lot of time left.
No, we got plenty. Look. See?
Hey!
All the time in the world. Hey!
Now Luke is Mr. Popularity.
Well, we've got ages and ages.
Nah, we barely even started.
I'm sure Twitter's like yelling at me who owns the rights to the X-Men.
No, but probably. But I actually wanted you actually to discuss trying to play Plants vs. Zombies last night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I also want to talk about why, real quickly, just a point that having to play this DLC, not having to play, but wanting to play the DLC for Last of Us and finish it up, is why is Ellen Page constantly in the news every time that Last of Us comes up? What
And
is
it's
the
for
story?
something related.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Possibly. Apparently,
that's
there's a
our
big
theory.
spoiler in the DLC for Last of Us. But if the spoilers are what I think it is, having played the game, it should be very, very clear. There's two potential things that could happen in Last of Us Left Behind
This
that
is
could
so
be
hard
spoilers.
to discuss without
Yeah.
like actually talking about what the spoilers are.
By the way, we're going to talk about, we should have a column every time where we say, okay, here's what's leaving the spoiler penumbra. This thing is like now public domain for a spoiler, you know? Well, obviously a DLC that came out 2 weeks ago would not be that. But Ellen Page decides to come out is gay, which kudos to her. That had to be a very difficult decision. I know it's a thing that happens a lot these days, but still, for someone who lives in the public eye and the public opinion matters so much in their career, that's a very courageous decision. But she chose February 14th to make this announcement. That's the day the DLC for Last of Us came out, which is a franchise.
Also Valentine's Day. Yes.
Also Valentine's Day. Also Valentine's Day. But it's like she keeps getting confused with this. She keeps getting confused with this franchise, and it's so funny to me that this is like the weird coincidence of that. Anyway, so I just wanted to make that point. But so we'll see what happens next with Last of Us. When they announce the sequel, she's going to be having like a kid or something like that on the same day. She'll make that announcement. But yeah, so I went to go play Plants vs. Zombies, and I got it on the Xbox One. Is it available on other platforms?
Yeah, it's definitely,
PS4?
No.
I'll let you look that up while
no,
I talk
don't think
about
so.
this.
I want to say it's Xbox 360 and PC.
Okay, well, I got it on
They're-
Xbox One, and I got it digital because I love to do that. And so
As did we.
I want to say it was like a 12 gig download.
10.1 gig download.
10.1. There we go. And it's a $40 game. And so I started downloading it. And then it got to the point, apparently this is now a big part of the digital experience on next gen is like the game is downloading, but now it's ready to play.
Right.
And I said, okay, so I'm going to play it. So it drops me into the game. There's no tutorial or anything like that. All of a sudden I'm playing the game. And it took me about 4 or 5 minutes to figure it out. But I wasn't playing Plants vs. Zombies, Garden Warfare. I was playing like a mini game.
You're in basically a lobby.
Yeah.
An
Basically,
AI lobby.
It's like the
With
equivalent
no
of-
instructions of any kind.
You know how there are some games that'll have like a loading screen mini games?
Yeah.
It was like that.
We did the same thing. I ran around in that for a little while too. And this is not, honestly, this preloading thing for Xbox, I wish they just stopped. Because I've not yet had a good experience with it's not done, but you can play. It has never worked for anything. I think the only time I've ever been in a title that was not done, but I could play, and I could actually play, was, I believe, Assassin's Creed. You could play single player, but not multiplayer at some point during the install. Any other game, it gets you to the menu, and then that's it. You can do nothing. So this was actually, in some ways, a step up from that, in that you could at least, you could just play with the different classes. You had no abilities unlocked, so it was like the default class. You could only use one ability and just shoot some zombies.
I played the Sunflower to begin with, and I was healing nothing. I was like, I was the only other character.
You're by yourself.
I'm by myself, and so I was walking around
With a support character.
Yeah, and I was a support character. And I was shooting zombies. And it was like there was no instructions. There was nothing about how to play the game or anything like that. And I was like, what the fuck? What am I supposed to do here?
But at least I will say this: it was kind of nice that they put the install progress up at the top.
Yeah,
So you
that
could still
was
see
a
what
nice
was
touch.
going on.
And by the way, that was the only indication that I had that
It wasn't finished.
it wasn't done. I thought, well, maybe they put the install there because I'm not playing the actual game. But I was really confused there for a little bit.
Yeah, no,
Because that should not be your first
terrible.
experience with a game in the modern era. You shouldn't be like load up a game and be like, what the hell am I doing?
But your second experience wasn't amazing either.
Well,
like
no,
when
then
it
I
actually finished downloading. So we were
Just
both sitting there
lobby.
looking at it going, how does this work? And, looking at the cards, and I was like, I think you have to take the free cards, and then you have to buy booster packs with experience. By the way, you can totally see where they would slot in microtransactions for that.
Yeah, it's going to be huge.
So easy.
If they do.
And we started trying to figure that out, and try like go into a multiplayer match, hangs it trying to find multiplayer, then it hangs it canceling it, and we couldn't stop
Yep.
the game from canceling looking for multiplayer. It just
EA.
had a
Now
heart
we're
attack.
straying
EA
we're
at
straying here
launch.
into pseudo review territory.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we're going to do that, we should talk a little bit about like ourselves. I never played, nor I shouldn't say never played. I did play, but I never played on a regular basis. Nor did I ever enjoy the Plants vs. Zombie game. I like a lot of PopCap games. Love the Peggle series. So maybe people who play Plants vs. Zombies understand what's going on. But I was just like being dropped into that.
I don't know that would help. I played Plants vs. Zombies 2.
The tower defense game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would maybe have some input on what these general classes are, sorta.
Yeah.
But it was basically just run around in a lobby is all that loading thing was. So yeah, I can see how it might be kind of confusing. I think maybe it did sort of give you a little setup where in the text over it would tell you kind of the general role of that character. I think it was kind of weird that you only got, and this is sort of a weird thing about how this game treats its characters. You have all these things that you can do with the plant side. The zombie side you can only work with right now in multiplayer. So plant side, you can level them up and do other things interchangeably with the horde mode that comes with it. Zombie side, you don't. And there are several achievements tied to leveling up zombie characters and plant characters. So that gives you two roads to do it with the plants, but not with the zombies.
I see.
So they're kind of second class character.
But it is the first time you can play as them too.
Yeah, that is the first time you play as the zombies.
Yeah, so you weren't able to play with them on the tower defense games at all. You just were trying to, save the house from zombies. I never played 2, but
And to be clear, it's a really fun game. Honestly, like we've had a lot of fun with it. It's a different kind of leveling up experience, but it is really enjoyable.
and when you bend genres in a game that can work really well, or it can be a straight up flop sometimes. And moving from a tower defense game to an FPS could be cool, but there's been all sorts of games where it's like, you take a really successful game and then try to move into a different genre. Works great sometimes, like in Warcraft. Other times, like Halo going to Halo Wars, not so well. Or Command and Conquer to Renegade. Did you ever play that? The FPS Command and Conquer game? Yeah. It was one of the first games that had vehicles, so that was cool. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't work so well. But people are saying really positive things about it and they like it.
It is enjoyable.
I'm looking forward to the servers coming up because it looks like a lot of fun. It's like a shooter, but cute.
It is very cute. And I mean, EA had to
they
drop
got
a
my
patch
list.
last night. Honestly, it's kind of been. It's to the point now where when EA launches a game, you just assume that you're not going to play it for a couple days.
Yeah, it makes you worry a little bit
Online.
about Titanfall, but
Makes
they
you
did.
worry a little about Titanfall.
But they also
Multiplayer only.
had their beta, so hopefully they're a little bit better prepared. And it is, Respawn, and they have experience in that area where PopCap, not so much.
Fair enough. I don't know.
Although
I think
EA should.
it's pretty much always at this point a question of whether they pay for enough server space for that first weekend. And I
What
can
about
understand.
the first night? Can we try that one?
Yeah. You'd think they would ramp it up, but I'm sure there's a price point where they're like, we know it's going to suck for a day or two, but people will slow down.
Did you hear about the fuss with? I know we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
Gus is in spirit. Somebody on the on Twitter named him Poltergus, which I love.
Is that what the stinging in my ear is?
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
okay.
It's him like grabbing your neck. The Titanfall, they're doing the unlock where they do the preloading. They're going to unlock it, and some of my friends, especially locally,
No, they're not doing that.
Oh, they're not.
No. That was on the Xbox site for a couple of hours. Everyone went, hooray, you can preload it and then it'll just unlock it and it'll be amazing. It'll ease up the network strain and all this. And then Xbox came back and said, nope, that was a mistake. We're not doing that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So, I if I had to guess, I'd guess that retailers called them up and went, so should we just stop stocking your Xbox One right now? What's the deal?
Yeah.
And they went,
Yeah, good luck delivering the console digitally. Yeah. That'll be tough. Yeah, but it's okay. Well, then I won't even tell you what the misconception was. But it was unlocking the game. They're universally unlocked and they're not specific to time zone. Which, when they roll this out, which eventually they will do,
It's going to happen.
hopefully it'll be good and it'll work really well. Anybody play Outlast on the PS4 yet?
no.
Okay, she doesn't
Outlast
play-
came out on the PS4?
She hates horror games. It's on one of the top lists. I haven't played it yet.
I don't
so.
hate horror games. I just don't like to be around while they're being played because they're scary, and I'm a sissy pants.
By definition, hate.
That sounds
is
like hate.
what
That's
you
not
just
hate.
used.
You sound like a
define
hater.
the word by saying not the word, basically. You don't like that.
Aw.
I don't have any, I don't want them to come to harm. I want them to do well. I just don't want to be around.
I really want the best for every fake character that I meet.
I do.
All right. Well, I think that is a successful patch.
Ryan, I thought you did an excellent job as the host
Thank
of
you,
the
guys.
patch. As
thank
always.
you for joining me. I
We-
couldn't do it without
Happy
you.
to be here.
Really appreciate your time management skills.
Thank you. I couldn't do it without the help of many phantom gusts and a couple whiteboards that are floating around over there.
And
yelling
Ellen
at
Giving
me.
us all instructions.
And Ellen Page.
And Ellen Page.
Thank you, Ellen
Thank you, Ellen
Page.
Page.
And thank you. Have a good evening
Bye, everybody.
or morning or afternoon, wherever you are.